What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Aftermath Podcast. I am your host, Christopher Tenpenny, joined by my co host, my friend, my buddy, Mr. CJ Jones. How are you doing today, my good sir?
I feel like a winner, Chris. How you feeling, buddy?
Hey, I felt like a winner since Andy came to Kansas City.
You
So we're
did. It's
going
been a
on
long
a
time,
decade
huh?
plus,
Like 10
feeling like
years.
a winner, right? No, but always doing well. Let's just jump into it. It's Broncos week again.
Donkey
Broncos
week.
part two. It's kind of
Again?
weird.
Already? That was
I
quick.
know, right? Right? Twice in 3 weeks. And like we're gonna keep it short for you guys today, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't. I, it's already playing a bad football team, and we played them 2 weeks ago. Like I don't know if there's a ton to get into, but like if you had to pick something on this game, what jumps out to you, CJ?
I know it's our job to try to make the game interesting, and we have to like at least engage our fans a little bit. The little fans that we do have, we appreciate you guys for listening. But like Chris said, there's not too much to talk about. But the only angle from the game I could give out is that maybe it's a look ahead spot. Like obviously we know we have Miami coming up in 2 weeks. We're headed out to Frankfurt, Germany to play the Dolphins and the Tyreek Hill reunion. That's the game everybody's most excited for. 8:30 Central kickoff in the morning. So you don't want to overlook your opponent. But me and Chris were kind of talking about it off air. Chris, this is a bad football team. We know they're a bad football team, and we kind of treated them as such 2 weeks ago with a nonchalant effort, I think, on offense, like play calling standpoint. So coming into this game, we know the trade deadline is Halloween Tuesday this week, coming next week. So do we feel like this team, from a Denver Broncos standpoint, do they try to protect some of their assets to not get them hurt? Because I do feel like some of their players will be moved. Now, which ones are moved is the question. But do you think they kind of not are as aggressive on the field to protect some of those players?
Yeah, that's a point I hadn't even really given much thought, though. To be fair, again, it's the Broncos, so it's not like I'm sitting here thinking about them a lot. But
What are the donkeys doing?
right, exactly. It's like is Judy going to play a lot? And if he does play, it's almost an audition. I know that he's had some comments in the past about one not wanting to be moved or whatnot, but
Oh man.
like, yeah, I I don't know how else to talk about. That dude's crazy. Like I can't. I wish I could spend 5 minutes in his mind. Like what the hell ever he's thinking. But like if they do play him, like is he going to be stubborn and not try to do anything knowing it's an audition, or is he turned a leaf and is going to try to ball out and give it 110% because he knows that like this is the last thing on film before a team may snatch him up and he's on a contender. So like, and there's other guys that they may move in that same boat. Like, really don't know what to expect if the Broncos play them. I think there's going to be a lot of effort. A lot of those guys hate this streak. What are we? 16?
16 straight.
Yeah, like it just starts to blur together. Like on how many in a row. So that's a factor, and that's always going to be a factor. And then you add in these guys potentially auditioning for other teams. That there is a little bit of that, and that's about the most I can make out of this game.
I mean,
Is
there's really nothing else you could honestly say. Like, this is a
right,
bad football team. They're coming off a win. They beat the Green Bay Packers, which is
barely.
entirely barely. Can't really put too much stock into that. But I mean, the streak. I mean, it's all basically it all comes down to pride, Chris. I feel like that roster is probably split 50-50. Half of them are probably pissed off and probably will play their hearts out to get this win because you don't want to have number 17 be on your head. But then the other half are kind of thinking about halfway in, halfway out, like, all right, I'm about to move on to the next team. Agents are probably talking in their ear, hey, we got this team looking at you. There's a chance you could be moved on Sunday, whatever the case may be, or Monday morning, excuse me. So I think it's kind of like a 50-50 split. And when you have like half the roster in, half the roster out, that's a recipe for a bad team, usually for a bad performance. So I expect the Chiefs to go in there and handle business overall, but that's why they say you got to play the game. So we'll see. But I think the Chiefs should go in there and handle business, get an early lead, get on it from the jump, kind of take them out the game early. So that's what I expect.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's expected outside of any given Sunday, which is always a factor.
Punter's chance.
It's hard to drum it up. Like you said, it was on a short week when we played them 2 weeks ago because it was a Thursday night game. And the Chiefs put up 400 yards of offense, like moved the ball up and
Crazy.
down. Pat had over 300 yards. Now they only put up 19 points because they weren't quite efficient enough in the red zone, but like it was very vanilla, and they were doing that on a short week. Like there's potential for snow, and if it's not a windy snow, which we still don't know, if it's just like snowfall, Pat's gonna put up another 300. That man loves playing in the snow. So, I just outside of a couple bounces going against them and a blown coverage or something. Think about it. Last week against the better Chargers team, the Chiefs defense had two blown plays. Had a blown coverage to Palmer and a blown run assignment to
That's true.
Kelly.
Mhm.
and they still only gave 17 points up the whole game.
And both of those
Like
plays were in the first half. Second half, there was none of that. So
exactly. And so again, it's just I expect Chiefs to go out. And now whether they put up points like 31, 38 points is yet to be seen, but I think they will move the ball at will and be able to stop the Broncos defense just like they did 2 weeks ago, and kind of expect it to be a boring are we in Germany yet kind of game.
no facts. And you kind of think about it like it's funny. I was looking at a stat today, the most 300-yard games since 2016. Mind you, Patrick Mahomes didn't get drafted until 2017, didn't start until 2018. He's number one in the league in 300-yard games since then. Number two is Tom Brady. So the gap between him and the next guy for 300-yard games is like a mountain. So this could be another like what we call it get your stats up game for a bad defense, a bad football team. Obviously, it's a division opponent, so you want to respect them. But to Chris's point, it's not really much you could take away from this Bronco team or defense. They've gotten rid of players. They're not really playing really good ball right now. Guys are on the trading block. It's bad weather is going to be included. So, and if you get an early lead on this team, you kind of essentially take them out the game. Last time they saw this football team, Charles Omenihu was not on the field.
No, he wasn't.
So, what do we think this defense is going to look like now since that performance? We know how many sacks we've been getting, pressures. We had a lot of endorsements, as me and Chris saw in the timeline today, for the Chiefs defense possibly being number one. I didn't say it. This was other people saying it.
It's what other people saying.
So like the defense has been obviously getting their licks in for sure, and they're getting the performance and the praise due from other people around the league, and I'm appreciative of it because me and Chris been singing their praises all year since training camp. So they obviously deserve it for sure. I think they come in there and they dominate, like me and Chris said. I think I don't want to say ever an easy game because they're professionals, but I just don't see how Denver Broncos make this game close, honestly. Russell Wilson didn't play well the last time we saw him, and now this defense has another weapon in front of them as far as pass rushing skills, and the secondary is playing at an even higher level than it was 2 weeks ago, which is kind of crazy to say. I truly don't see how Denver makes this a game, honestly.
Is there any chance that we're being so dismissive here that this is a trap game? Because again,
Yeah.
you whooped up on them 16 times. None of these guys on the roster have ever lost to the Broncos in the Chiefs uniform. Well, I guess Travis and old long snapper there.
Trav Winchester, that's it.
Well, yeah, I think that's it. I think those are the only two that have lost.
Harry wasn't here. Pat wasn't here. Yep.
Yeah, that have lost to the Broncos in a Chiefs uniform, and
Exactly.
so and even Trav, I think is what 3 times. Because I'm not including his rookie year when he didn't play.
He didn't play. Yep, 14.
So in 14, and then the first game in 15.
Yep, the one.
That
was it.
That's crazy. Think about how long Travis's career is.
It's been a long time, man.
So is there any chance that the Chiefs? Because again, you do have not only are you going to Germany, you're also playing the team that a lot of people think are your number one competitors in the AFC, and we'll get into that discussion here in a few minutes on who's the true contender to the Chiefs. But as much as Andy prides himself on taking care of the division, and that's been a clear mindset on this team ever since Andy got here, are you worried at all that that's a possibility this week?
Coming into the season, this was one of the games I was most worried about. Because like you said, we're playing this Broncos team. I expected their defense to be elite because they had an elite defense last year, and they're bringing in Sean Payton. I thought this was going to be a potential trap game. Same team twice in 3 weeks, right before your big game against the Dolphins in Germany. This was the game I was thinking if we did drop it, it would probably be one of these, like either one of these Broncos games. But now looking at it, they're a bad football team. Everything that could go wrong for the Broncos went wrong. And it's funny because Russell Wilson hasn't been the main problem this year. He's actually playing semi to average football, but the defense has been god awful. The play calling has been questionable. But coming before 4 months ago, I would have thought this would be a trap game. But looking at everything now, given everything we know, this is not a trap game in my opinion. I think we go out here and handle business. I think we got our offense back rolling this week. Guys are taking strides forward, and me and Chris will get into that more. But I don't see how this could be a trap game because I just don't see how the Broncos are going to play hard, but I just don't think they have enough talent to be the team that they were last year and not be making those games close. Only reason that game last year in Denver was even close because we made it close.
Right.
If Pat doesn't throw those interceptions, because we were up, 20 points?
Something like that.
Got that pick six and took it to the crib. So I really don't see how this game is. Like I said, if we get a 2-possession lead, 2.5, 3-possession lead early in the first half, this game could be over quickly. This is a game where you can get your stats up. And I know you want to respect your opponent. I'm trying to not to repeat myself, but I'm trying to find the angle of how they make this game close. But this football team, from a Chiefs standpoint, is better than it was last year when they saw us. And 2 weeks ago, I think this football team is better. Because this is a game where matching up wise, you want to get after Russ because they're going to be playing from behind and passing the ball. And this D-line, arguably, I'm not trying to be biased. Me and Chris said this last episode on Monday. It arguably could be the best in the league. I'm not even trying to be biased. Other people are saying this, not me. Other people across the league. So
It didn't have room for Frank. Didn't have room for Frank.
Frank Clark is not on this football team, and
Second
we've
most
taken him to
postseason
sign,
sacks ever. No
and we
room
thought he
for it.
was going to be here. So the secondary playing out of their mind. I think Mike Edwards is number one in like lowest QBR ratings in like DBs for safeties right now, which is, he's not even like our number one safety. So like I really don't see how. And you have like this obviously this rapport, that so-called rapport you had with Jerry Jeudy and Russell Wilson, and they're going back and forth over on Twitter and I have like Instagram and going back to media members and fighting. There's just a lot going on up there in Denver, and obviously we guarantee guys are going to be on the trading block move in a week. So it's kind of hard to see how guys get up for this game when you know they're thinking about their next moves, because that's just how the league works. So
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you. And again, maybe trying to make a little bit more out of nothing right now, just because it is. It's not the Broncos team I thought we were getting this year, like you said.
right.
Like I thought it was going to be, an 8 and 9, maybe even be a sneaky playoff team depending on how
Yeah.
Sean Payton. And that's just not what they are. Like again, the offense Sean Payton has started to fix a little bit. Again, they only put up 8 points in garbage time last time against the Chiefs. It even they only put up 19 against the
That don't
Packers
even
last week.
count. They got a BS roughing the passer call. That does
Yeah,
not
yeah,
count.
exactly. Like again, you just look at it like we're saying the offense is looking better. That's just because of how bad it was a year ago. It's really still not a good offense. But yeah, I think it's God. If they drop this game, it's going to be very, 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 very frustrating. So try not to harp on it. But let's see what bets you got. What's your favorite plays of the week? I know that's what everyone's really going to be getting into, is seeing where they need to make their money when you got kind of a
I need to get like a Vegas soundboard sign when they start having the money
no
come
no
out of the slot
no
machine, like ding, 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 ding,
no.
ding. I need to start getting everybody some money. Okay, guys, I got 3 plays this week that I really love. I think they're all really good value. My first play that I love, I can't believe I was just telling Chris this off air. I can't believe it's still here. Rasheed Rice receptions at 3.5. He's cleared this number in like 3 to 4 straight weeks. I can't believe the books are still having it. I think I saw it at minus 145 on FanDuel, so it's kind of juiced a little bit. But get it right now before it gets even higher. He's cleared this number, obviously, the last 3 or 4 weeks. His receptions and his targets, his snap share is going up. Clearly, Pat has a rapport with him. He's throwing him more touchdowns in the red zone like we saw last week. So I love that number. My second favorite play of the day is, I have it on my phone right here, is Pat Mahomes rushing yards at 23.5. He's cleared this number, I think, every game this year except twice. Obviously, we know they're going to be a team. We're going to be trying to be aggressive, throw the football. We love to score points. Obviously, when Denver tries to rush, they're going to try to play man, and when they play man, Pat usually finds a seam and gets the first down. So Pat Mahomes over 23.5 rushing yards. I love that prop. And my last one of the day is actually a two leg parlay. You can put it together. I think certain books you may have to do them separate, but I love obviously Chris Jones to get a sack. He broke his streak last week, unfortunately. So he was going for 9 or 10 straight. And then I love Charles Omenihu to get a sack. We know how much he came out on fire last week. Him and Chris were playing on the same side. So many twist stunts you could do with those two guys. So really, anybody for value plays, you can play Mike, Dana, George, Chris, or Charles every week from now on, honestly, to get a sack. But this is a bad offensive line, not too much great protection. So my favorite plays of that would definitely be Charles and Chris to get a sack for sure.
Yeah, pick your 2 favorite Chiefs to get a sack and place your bets on it, and probably one of them will get it at this point, and you'll make you either make your money back or make a little money depending on if both or not get it. Like
Exactly.
it's easy.
Great value. Great
I
value.
mean, that's just how this front four is working. I did love Baldy talking about, Brian Baldinger talking about a
Shout out
Minihue,
Paul.
and it was like, man, that's what we were saying beforehand. Like, people don't necessarily know the name because he was in Houston and then he was in San Francisco as a rotational player, but dude's a freak. Dude is an athletic specimen and has another athletic specimen in Chris Jones to take on a lot of these double teams, and it opens him up one on one. And you saw it week one, and his week one, but expect to see it more. We are going to end here with the biggest threats to the Chiefs in the AFC. Before we do that, though, we're going to get off this Broncos game. We got to do scores and predictions over unders just so we can get it out the way. I should have already had this up.
No worries. I think the over under. I think my last shot, I think it was at
47.
like 47. Yeah, 48. Yep, 47.
Yeah, 47 seems a little high with the Chiefs as a 7-point favorite. I like
Pretty
that.
safe.
I like
Pretty
that.
safe.
What
like
you
it.
got?
This game is either going to go 2 ways, like me and Chris just said. We're either going to blow this team out, or it's going to be annoyingly close because we just don't care. We just want to get out with a win. So I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt. We had our annoyingly close game for no reason. I think this is the blowout game. I think the Chiefs cover the spread, and I like the over. I'm going to go Chiefs because I think the Chiefs' total touchdowns is 3.5. So I like the over. I think I got it at plus 154 on FanDuel. I think we score 4 times this week for sure. So I'm gonna go Chiefs 31. I'm gonna go Broncos 10. No, actually, yes, no, Chiefs 31, Broncos. Ooh, that's a good question because it's 47. You said 47 and a half.
Yeah, it's
So how do
47.
they get? We have to put up 48 to get to that number. That's a big number. Do we
I
put up?
know.
But
I'm
Andy doesn't.
taking the
Andy's not a
under.
blowout type of coach.
47 seems huge. Like I am smashing the under this week, and I hope
Exactly.
I'm wrong.
Andy's not a blowout. Now, if Andy was like a dog coach that want to embarrass you, I would say we go out there and put up 40 on your
There's no
head.
reason to
He's not that
embarrass.
kind of guy.
There's no reason to embarrass this team.
Exactly.
You just
You've already
if you
embarrassed
win
them
it
enough.
if you win in the 17th straight time, that's embarrassment enough.
17 in a row. So
I
yeah,
can't.
I guess the under is probably safe because if we get to 30, I think we call the dogs off. In my heart, I would want us to go get 40 because I know we could do it, and I want to see guys get their Pro Bowl numbers up. But I think in my heart of hearts, like you said, Andy's not going to kind of embarrass anyone. So 31-10 is seems like a safe score. It's the under, but the Chiefs do cover the -7 for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going under 2. I'm going a little more because I'm going 24-16. I think the Broncos get something late, probably.
Yeah.
So where it's kind of one of those, vanilla offense. Maybe we see a little bit more McColl because it's a team he's familiar with, and it's a team that that you feel confident about.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, again, it's an 8-point win under. So I think they cover. I really do think they cover this week. But if I had to pick one thing, it's the under. I think the under's hitting.
Yeah, for sure. Only way like the under wouldn't hit is if we got like a scoop and score, pick six.
Yeah, one of those.
Nicole gets like a return for a touchdown. If we get like some kind of special teams or defensive touchdown to help us get that extra 7 to push it to 38, then we could cover it. But if we don't, then yeah, I think the under is a safe play.
Yeah, and it looks like the Chiefs will be moving. If everything goes, they can play their C+ game, and the Chiefs will be 7-1 this week. Okay. So hoping that is what happens. But let's get into something that has kind of been going around a little bit, just because, after the loss to the Lions, you look over the standings, and the Chiefs are 6-1, top of the AFC with the 1 seed, and there's kind of these 4 or 5, depending on what you're looking at, these teams that are who's second. And I think there's a case for a lot of them. Who do you got? Who? If you had to pick right now today, who's playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? Who would you pick?
If we're in Arrowhead in January playing for another AFC Championship game, I think we will be playing the Baltimore Ravens. That's my pick right now. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have said the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Obviously, their offense is playing good football. They've scored a lot of points. But then they ran into the Philadelphia Eagles. And then that kind of narrative starts to come out. You haven't beat a team over 500 this year. So you're a good football team. They can score a lot of points. Obviously, they're getting Jalen Ramsey back soon. Xavier Howard will be coming back. They obviously have some guys on injury like Armstead and Devon A-Chain. But I think as of right now, I think the Ravens have solidified themselves as the second best team in the AFC. Given the fact the Bengals slow start, the Bills are dealing with injuries and trying to navigate their way through the season. I think the Ravens' dominant win over the Lions, and obviously they found ways to win games even when they're not playing their best on either side of the ball. I think they've earned the right to be the number 2 team in the AFC right now, for sure, Chris.
No, I think that's where a lot of people are leaning, and for good reason. My biggest issue with the Ravens is that they're just a little too inconsistent.
For sure. Up and down, for sure.
They had that game against the Colts where Lamar balled out and no one could catch the ball and they lost. And
the Steelers game too, same thing.
Yeah, and the Steelers had just a good enough defense to where and made one play on offense and it was over. Now those division games I don't harp on quite as much because division games are kind of wacky unless it's the Chiefs Broncos. But but they're just a little too inconsistent, kind of like with the Bills, kind of like with Miami not being able to beat anyone with any kind of pedigree at all. So as I look it up, I want to say the Ravens so bad, but I think I'm going with the Bengals. I know they're 3-3.
This week will show a lot.
How they play this week will make me either look really stupid or make me look smart.
No, it's not a bad call. It's the Bengals. We know, coming into the season, everybody would say the Bengals. So you're not crazy for saying that.
No, I know. I just feel a little crazy still staying on them. Yeah. But it's the Ravens are the only team this year because we see the 70 points that the Dolphins put up, and that's really what grabbed the attention there. But outside of that, they've just kind of been a nice team, not a legit scary team in my opinion. So
no, absolutely.
If Burrow coming off the bye, if T. Higgins is able to get his mind right, because we know he's a much better player than what he's been playing, Burrow gets a week healthy, or we know that defense with that defensive line with Trey Hendrickson and what's the other dude that I'm blanking on right now?
Cam Hubbard.
Yeah, Hubbard. Those guys are legit. So like, I think I'm still going. If I had to put money on it right now, who's in the AFC Championship game? I think it's the third straight year of Bengals Chiefs.
It comes down to those two teams for sure. I think those two teams are going to be battling for their division. The North is kind of crazy right now. The Bengals are at the bottom right now, which is wild. So this game is everything to them because this game has so many implications. They're 3-3. They don't want to go to 3-4 because obviously the Ravens have 2 losses. Mm-hmm. You have the Steelers only had 2. The Browns are 4-2. So if you're the Bengals, you don't want to go down to 3-4 because then you'll be the bottom of your division. The Niners need this game obviously because they're trying to fight for the 1 seed in the NFC, with the Eagles only having 1 loss. So this game really could be the game of the weekend, honestly, Chris. Like you just said, that game has a lot of implications for both teams for sure.
Yeah, and it's in San Francisco, so but like even
if
the Bengals lose a close game, like I'll still feel pretty good about. Obviously,
for sure, that's a good football team.
But
absolutely,
the Browns are playing the Seahawks, the Steelers are playing Jacksonville. Now the Ravens do get Arizona, but like even if the Ravens win the North and the Bengals are the 6 or 7 seed as a wild card, I still think that's a team that is confident, has been there before. Like it doesn't really matter to me if the Bengals win the North or not. If they're in the playoffs,
yeah, we know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. We know who they are more than anybody else.
For sure. If they went into Baltimore for a AFC divisional game, and that's the game we're watching to see who has the chance to either come here or go to the other team with the top 2 seeds in the AFC, that would be. And like they played last year in the playoffs, and it came down to 1 possession on the goal line.
Right, exactly. With the backup quarterback.
Yeah, if Huntley doesn't fumble that ball on the goal line, they beat Cincinnati, and then our job getting to Arizona is a little easier. So that's why I think honestly, like it's a lot to say until January. There's a lot of football in between there. If they saw each other, I may lean Baltimore because that showed me a lot last year. I thought that the Bengals were going to make that game not even close. And I know it's a divisional game, so you can't put like blowout implications on that. But for that game to come down to 1 play and you don't have an MVP quarterback on the field, that showed me a lot for that Baltimore roster. And this Baltimore roster is way better offensively than that one was last year, with their number 1 receiver being who? Demarcus Robinson, shout out to D-Rob, or Mark Andrews, that was their best weapon. So for them to do that and keep that game that close, I respect the Ravens that much more. That's why I think they're the number 2 team. But if they saw each other, that would be a hell of a matchup for sure to decide who comes to the Arrowhead Invitational for the 6th straight year. So
man, that's what it's like. Obviously a lot of football left, but through 7 weeks heading into week 8, it's sure shaping up like Chiefs versus there's Jacksonville who's starting to turn things around. We don't know what Buffalo is. We talked about Miami, but like there's a lot of teams that like you can squint and look and be like, all right, I can see that. There's only one team that you're like, they got the pedigree, they got the record, they got everything, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's a good place to be in.
It is what it is, baby. Back on top.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us this week. Before we get out of here, CJ, where can the good people find you?
You guys can definitely find me on Twitter at CGZ81. That's CJEEZY81. If you guys want to talk betting lines for this weekend, talk fantasy advice, if you want to talk X's and O's, anything, my DMs are always open. I know we have our next home game will not be until the Philly game. Yeah. So we'll definitely be on the road, and then we have a bye week coming up. So you guys will definitely want to talk about the game, eat up at the game. I'm definitely down to talk for sure.
For sure. And then you can always find me on Twitter at 10penny88 talk ball. But also, hey, go check out the KC Sports Authority. Whether you're listening to this on Spotify or you're already on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Again, if you listen to Spotify and you like it, that's fine. You don't have to go listen to it again. Just take 2 seconds, go on to the YouTube app, hit subscribe, and then bail. Like obviously, I want you to watch
like button, all that good stuff.
Or if you're a KU fan, we got our boy Keegan who talks and KB who listens to a lot, who talk a lot of Jayhawk football. So, go check it out and see if you like it. Support the Star Squad.
Go Chiefs, go Hawks, all that good
Chiefs,
stuff.
Go Hawks, right? But that is going to do it for us. And as always, we will talk to you next time.